Good morning. This lesson is for my Integrated 1 class. Before I get started, I want to say that I hope everybody is doing okay out there. So I haven't been posting YouTubes in a while, and I've been asked to post a YouTube lesson on rewriting a table with a pattern, turning that pattern into an equation, and verifying the equation. So I'm going to try my best to work in my office and share a video, so hopefully I can answer those questions for you. I'm going to shut this door here real quick, so hopefully it's a little bit less outside noise in this video. But let's go ahead and jump right in. Our first goal is to rewrite the table with a pattern, and what I've done is I've written the 3 things that we're going to do for our first goal. So the first thing we have to do is we have to figure out how the y value changes. The second thing is the first y value must be in every row when we rewrite the table, and the table needs to have repeated values. So I'm going to show you how to accomplish all 3, which will accomplish our first goal. Okay, so let's start off with the first concept, figure out how the y value changes. Now remember, f of x, that is the y value. Okay, so this is how we write y now. We say f of x. Okay, and 8 turns into 15 by adding 7. And 15 turns into 22 by adding 7. And 22 turns into 29 by adding 7. So I've figured out how the y value changes. I can check that goal off. Okay, so the second goal is I'm going to have to write the y value in every row. So I'm going to now start to write my table, rewrite my table. Okay. I want to make sure I'm not blocking this. Alright, so every row must have my first y value, which is 8. So I have 0, 8, 1, and then 8. And so let me say it like this. How many 7s does 8 need to turn into 15? And it needs 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say 8 plus 7 times 1. The next row, we have a 2. And the question I'm going to ask is, how many 7s does 8 need to turn into 22? And 8 needs 2 7s. So this is going to be written as 8 plus 7 times 2. Because I needed 2 7s to turn 8 into 22 to get to my... This is actually my third row, but we'll talk about that later. And the last one that I'm going to add, and remember I have to have an 8 in every row. And so again, the question is, how many 7s does 8 need to turn into 29? And it needs 3. Okay, so I figured out how the y value changes. I wrote the first y value in every row. And so now I'm going to talk about that the table needs to have a repeated value. And so we do have a repeated value. This is a good table. And this is how we rewrite the table with a pattern. And the pattern is that this number is the same as how many 7s I have. So here, this number is a 2, and I had 2 7s. This number is a 3, and I needed 3 7s. All right, so that's going to be the first goal. I'm going to check that off. I'm going to pause the video so I can write down what we're looking for to accomplish our second goal. But hopefully this is going to make it easier for you to understand. I'm back. Alright, so now we're moving on to our second goal. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn our pattern into an equation. So I didn't change my table, I just changed what I wrote here. And so in order to turn our pattern into an equation, it's pretty easy to do. We're going to use the pattern to create new rows. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to show you how the pattern can be used. We're going to replace the repeating numbers with an x. And then when we do that, we then set that equal to f of x. And we've written our equation. But before I do that, I should add one more of these because I need to learn how to count. All right. So I'm going to start talking about this. So again, here I have a 1. I needed 1 7. Here I had a 2. I needed 2 7s. Here I had a 3. I needed 3 7s. So if I was to extend the table, for example, and again, you do not have to do this. I'm just trying to show you how we get to the equation here, right? So if I were to say dot, 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 and let's say that we were down here where this was, I don't want to use a 7 because I already have a 7. Let's say we're down here and I had a 6. That means that this will become 8 plus 7 times 6. Because, I wasn't even close, I was looking at that one. This will become 8 plus 7 times 6 because these numbers must repeat. And if I was to do this again, I'd go dot, 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 dot. And, you know, if I wanted to see if I could say, I don't know, we got to 11. This would now become, and I'll wait for you to think about what the answer would be, but this would now become 8 plus 7 times 11. Oh, I didn't mean for that to happen, but this is how we would create new rows. We've got a pattern, so now we're using the pattern, okay? So I'm going to check that off. We want to now replace the repeating numbers with x. So again, notice these numbers are repeating, these are repeating, these are repeating, these are repeating, and these are repeating. So if I was to extend the table a little bit more and go dot, 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 and say x, this is now going to become 8 plus 7 times x. And that's how we accomplish our second goal. Our third goal is really easy. We're going to set this equal to f of x. So what we do is we say f of x is equal to 8 plus 7x. And this equation represents this table. See, this is why I stopped the video when I write. This is really boring to watch. Okay, so hopefully that this explains it. Alright, so again, I've rewritten the table with a pattern. I've turned the pattern into an equation. And so now we're going to talk about our last goal. And our last goal is going to be to verify the equation. So again, I'm going to hit pause so I can erase a couple things and write out what we're doing. And then hopefully this explains what the lesson has been about. I turned the other way. I had to think about that for a second. But alright, so let's go ahead and move on to our third goal here. And our third goal is going to be verify the equation. And it's really easy to do. And so all I have right here is I have the steps that we need to do. If we plug in an x, we should get its y. Meaning that if I plug in 0, I should get its y, which is 8. If I plug in 1, I should get its y, which is 15, dot, dot, dot. If I plug in 2, I should get its y, which is 22. If I plug in 3, I should get its y, which is 29. If my equation is correct, that x should create its y. Okay, so I'm going to pick 3. So everywhere I have an x, I replace with a 3. So replace x with 3. Replace all x's with 3. So again, notice I have an x here and I have an x here. So now I'm going to say f of 3 is equal to 8 plus 7 times 3. Well, 7 times 3, that's going to give me 21. And now I have 8 plus 21. 8 plus 21 is going to give me 29. So here I have verified that I have a good equation because when I plug in 23, I get 29. So I'm looking for these 3 things on your quiz. I want to see that you can write the table with a pattern. Don't worry about the rest. You literally can just jump from this to this. Okay, I'm looking for the table with a pattern on the test. I'm looking for you to set the pattern with an x equal to f of x, and then I'm looking for you to verify. And you can use any. You could use 0, you could use 1, you could use 2, you could use 3. But if you did it correct, it should create its corresponding y value. So I'm also looking for this. So hopefully this lesson helps you guys understand what I'm looking for. And if you do have any more questions, do reach out by email. I'll try my best to answer them. I hope everyone has a good day. Bye-bye.